on that. Rosa, you ready for another story?
I sure am. Are you guys ready for another transformation story?
I don't even know if I'm ready for this one. Another amazing, inspirational, just touching story. You guys are just really in for just a treat. Please support this individual who is about to come up and share their story. This story has been years in the making, of course. We all have a story that's years in the making, but for several years he contemplated if he should tell this story or not. So I know it's a little hard for him to tell it, but I also know that he absolutely knows in his soul, deep within his soul, that he needs to tell it today. So please give him as much encouragement as possible when he comes out.
Well, I know myself that when you are ready to share your story, sharing your story for the first time, it's just hard because you don't really know what's going to happen. But I know that after he shared his story, he's going to realize why he needed it to share his story. And I think that what a better way to guide this story or start this story with the amazing training of Pete Vargas, which he says that we have to start from our heart and end it with our heart. And I truly believe that this story starts from the heart and it's going to end it with our hearts.
Absolutely. I love that, Rosa. All right, so we're gonna get going with this. You guys ready for it? All right. Let's find out who our next winner of our Transformation Contest 2021 Houston is.
So bad, I would have to close the door. They called him suicide for a reason, and I didn't realize that type of thing exists. What's playing in the story is that what actually happened when I was 6 years old. I was sexually molested by a family. They explained to me, Mr. Patterson, if you would have made it in here 20 to 30 minutes later, very possible not to be here now. When I actually just took some time and really dug in and said, okay, where did this come from? How did this happen? How did I get here? Once I recognized, after I done tried everything else, I said, well, what do I have to do? Let me try this tea. I see the day of birth where I'm going to be on the stage in TLC and I'll tell the story. This is purpose for me. This is an assignment. When I started with TLC, I weighed 363 pounds. I now weigh 199 pounds. We're going to come over here.
Well, you have a lot of fans over there.
Yeah, a lot of fans on this side of the room recognize you right away. So, maybe our virtual audience and maybe some of you didn't hear, so I'm just going to say it one more time. Started at 363 down to 199, a total weight loss, 164 pounds. But man, there's so much more to this story. There is so much more to this story. Rosa, let's start us out.
Whew! All right, let's start this story. Well, start telling us a story about Bobby. Who was Bobby before TLC? Who was Bobby growing up? Oh, the mic.
He's motioning
He's
to me
like,
the
"Yep,
mic, and I
yep,
keep
I
on
got
forgetting to give people the mic. Sorry, Bobby.
Okay, there's the mic.
Bobby Patterson, by the way, I was told recently that his name is Bobby P, so that's what we're going to call him.
Before I start, I have got to say, Father, I thank you. Hallelujah. I'm fully in this moment right now. But it costs something to get here. So hopefully what I share with you today will resonate. Maybe not with you, but maybe someone who will hear it. Because there's victory in this story. Who am I? I'm Bobby Patterson, originally from Greensboro, North Carolina. And just growing up in Greensboro, there was fun. There's also the experience of just growing up, and I had the opportunity to be able to bounce between my home and also my grandmother. So I have a lot of experience in different neighborhoods, and there was a lot of good memories as far as my childhood is concerned. And Rosa said, well, who were you before TLC? Well, I kind of want to get to a place where I got to TLC, work backwards a little bit so we can move forward. I originally started in Total Life Changes in December of 2014. And how that came about, I had supported someone by buying some tea from them maybe about 6 months previous. And they actually sampled me. They gave me a pack of tea. And as the story goes with a lot of us, I let that tea sit up on my counter for about 6 months. Now, mind you, I called myself, even at that time, trying to lose weight. However, when you don't understand the purpose of a thing, you will abuse it, and neglect is a form of abuse. So I finally got to a place where I got tired of looking at the tea sitting up on my counter. So I said, well, let me just go ahead and try this tea. I mean, that don't make too much sense to me. You can drink some tea and lose some weight. Well, I went on ahead and made the first gallon. And what I found out is that I had literally released 7 pounds within the first 5 days. And I was like, wow. And at that moment, the light bulb went off in my head. And I said, you know what? I can sell this tea. I can make some money. Now, on the outside, that sounds real good. But what I did not realize back then, that I was being led to this company for even a greater purpose. I'll explain. But as I started out, I originally, from December to October of 2015, I had lost close to 70 pounds.
Woo!
Hold your applause. Hold that. Reason being is because I had a very serious life event take place. And I want to speak to those that may be looking at this video later on, or maybe they even viewing this live. Procrastination can cost you, and more seriously, cost you your life. Because the emergency that I had was literally, if I had not made it to the emergency room when I did, the doctors told me that I would have died. And what was the emergency? My gallbladder almost exploded. The regular size of a gallbladder is about the size of your thumb. The doctors informed me that mine had swollen to the size of a fist, and it was packed full of gallstones, and it was about to explode. When that happened, everything in me shifted and changed. And it was something about having that type of life event. It just caused me to just stop in my tracks. And I eventually fell out of the business. With that being said, there was a reason why I fell out of the business and did not continue my journey. Because there have been times previous where I called myself losing weight. And in the process of doing that, I get to a certain level, and then I quit. I know this story sounds familiar for a lot of people. But I had finally, something wasn't clicking. And here's the reason why it wasn't clicking. Fast forward. When you're rooted in purpose, resistance is futile. And I've always had a heart. All right, Father, whatever you want me to do. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that was my desire. So, beginning of 2019, I had been led to actually, all right, Bobby, you need to come back to TLC. I was so rebellious, I didn't even go up on the webpage, didn't look nobody up on instant media,
Instagram.
Instagram,
Yeah.
Lord have mercy, social media.
Yes, social media.
Help me out, y'all.
Yes, social media. Yeah. We got you. We got you.
And in the process of me being rebellious, that nudging never ever went away. Now let me backtrack a little bit. There was a reason why I would start these journeys and then stop. Because I would get to certain places where I would lose a certain amount of weight, and I'd be like, man, I don't feel like doing this. And the reason why is because I began to understand that it was bigger than me actually losing the weight. And I want to encourage you, and hopefully you'll understand this, is that answers are the employees of the right questions. I was asking the wrong questions for many years. Not that I didn't know the right question, but you know how we dance and want to play around and not get down to the root of an issue. And the real question was, Father, what's going on with me? I am tired of losing. So the reality is that even though I had a fairly good childhood in Greensboro, North Carolina, there was one incident that shifted the actual projection and the movement of my life. And at the age of 6 years old, in the summer of 1977, I was raped and molested that summer. And on top of that, unfortunately, in a lot of cases with our families, you don't know what you don't know. And what happens is things get swept up under the rug, and there's a whole lot of neglect that takes place after that because we just want to pretend and hope it goes away. And unfortunately, my parents kind of did that. And I did not get the help that I needed. And as a result, I developed a certain part of my personality. I was already a giving, loving type person. But you know, that can be exploited for the wrong reasons. And I wound up developing a part of my personality where I was just giving too much to the wrong people. And I nicknamed him the rescue guy because if you needed money, you ain't even had to ask me, I'm going to give you some money. If you needed help in any manner, even though you might not have been who I'm supposed to be connected to, I'm going to help you out. And here's the reason why. There was a certain amount of affirmation that I would get from them because I wasn't necessarily getting it from home. And I know I'm speaking to somebody's story right now. And that's okay, because if you can't tell it, this is why I'm here right now, to give you a voice until you have yours.
Woo!
Whew. Bobby, I know that was very hard for you, and it was very uncomfortable for me and Rosa to even fathom asking you that question. So thank you for making it easier on us. I think you're right. I think these things are much more common than we think, and I think sometimes they are handled correctly, right? And we talked yesterday back and forth about why that might have been, and all those different scenarios. But the past is the past now, and you ventured into this childhood then, where you even mentioned to us that even at your school, even in your teenage years, it got that story got around, and kids are kids, so you went through some bullying, right?
Well, actually, before I got to high school, by the time high school rolled around, it died down. But from age 7 to 14, it was like every year I would be greeted with a new set of bullies who would basically use that story to give them some type of leeway to feel as if they was going to bully me. And so me growing up in between two housing projects, can anybody guess how that went down? It was only for so much bullying that Bobby was going to take, and I was going to have to handle my business. And then, sometimes it really got out of hand. I became angry. I always felt as if I needed to defend myself. But once I got to high school, word had got around like, no, I don't think you want to mess with this one here. Yeah, because this is what happened to so-and-so when they tried it the last time. So, but it was very painful being bullied almost constantly about something I had no control over.
Yeah, I think we've all been there on both sides of that. But I want to fast forward a little bit to 2006. You had suffered. You were basically trying to make yourself feel better about everything you had been through, and you shared with us that you suffered with drug and alcohol abuse. And then in 2006, you decided, I'm done with drugs and alcohol.
Actually, it
Right.
occurred before that.
Okay.
And what happened in 2006, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It came by way of me being exposed to certain chemicals because I'm a former jet mechanic for the U.S. Navy. So I guess what they would classify disabled veteran in that sense. But when MS hit, that was a huge shift in my life, because on top of the other struggles that I already had, here's something else. And so I had to battle through that and learn some new skills, because I had actually started losing certain functions, especially on the left side of my body. My arms and my legs wasn't necessarily working the way that they were supposed to. And, over time, it's discouraging. I already had a healthy appetite. And the first thing that they wanted to put me on was steroids, more specifically prednisone. And anybody that's been on prednisone know how it works. You can eat at 12 o'clock and ready to eat a house at 2. And you just don't do that for somebody who already had a healthy appetite. And that was really the gasoline on a fire that already existed, where I just really started picking up a lot of weight. And then fast forward to 2010, I started having extreme pains in my face. And and I don't mean to be too graphic, but just imagine somebody taking a butcher knife, taking a blowtorch to it till it's red hot, then stabbing you in your face, and then continuously turning that knife and never taking it out. That's what that pain was. And so in 2010, I was diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia. And not on one side of my face, but both sides. So there have been times where the flares would hit, and it would be so debilitating. You can't speak, you can't hardly move, and typically after those type of flares, you spend at least 1 to 2 days recovering from that flare. And it is horrendous. They nickname it the suicide disease because, unfortunately, there is a percentage of people that literally take their life because they can't stand that pain. So we're talking about dealing with childhood trauma, multiple sclerosis, trigeminal neuralgia, and all these other emotional issues while still being a man. Y'all, after I had stopped drinking, after I had stopped being what they would call now a weed head, yes, that used to be me. The only place I could go with it was food. So whenever I would have these triggers, food was the comfort, but it was only temporary. It only provided a temporary comfort. So it gets to a point in your life where enough is enough. So you start searching for answers. Because I got tired of being sick and tired. I got tired of people saying to me, well, you look good to be a big man. How am I supposed to take that? Especially when I know I could be smaller. Especially when I've experienced what it meant to be much smaller coming out of boot camp. I had a taste of that. I want that again. So, fast forward, 2019. I finally got to a place where I was at least considering coming back to TLC. So I started doing a little research, and I noticed something had occurred that was entirely different from where the company was in 2015. Because see, back in 2015, I had the pleasure of experiencing the great tea crisis. If you ever hear any of the I guess you say the old school TLC heads, we can tell you what it was like back then. As a matter of fact, that was my first encounter with Ambassador Philip Birchfield, because he had put up a post where he had gotten a whole lot of tea, and he put it up. He put that tea on a couch and put that post up, and that thing went viral. And I was a customer because that tea was hot. It was a very hot commodity. But it also, during that time, if you was able to survive during that period, it also taught you how to be a smart distributor and always keep your orders coming in. Just keep placing orders. Because it got to a point that tea started coming in, and the rest was history. But I was just doing the business just to do the business, and I wasn't even thinking about transforming myself. But the company had transformed. They didn't even look the same. The spirit was different. Even I could even look on everybody's face and see that the countenance had changed. I was like, okay, what done went on here? No, seriously. And so, fast forward. I finally got bold enough to do something. I'm going to label this part of the story purpose and assignment. And I hope you all catch what I'm about to say. Because there's three individuals that play a huge part in this part of my story. October 7th, 2019, I became bold enough to actually do something that I just didn't do. I really didn't talk publicly about multiple sclerosis nor trigeminal neuralgia. But on that day, it happened to have been National Trigeminal Neuralgia Awareness Month. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and make a post. And I did. And then I almost took it down because I didn't want that attention. And I put that post up on Instagram. I put certain hashtags to it. And what happened next was nothing but ordained by God himself. You have a question before I go into that?
Keep on going. You're doing great.
Okay. I put the post up and I started getting responses. And one of those responses stood out like a sore thumb. And it said, in a nutshell, I will be praying for you. And so I went through the responses and I saw that. I said, well, who is this? And I clicked on it. And it was now Regional Director, Miss Fern Morgan. And I went to her page because by that time I had gotten a yes in my spirit. I said, okay, Father, I'm going to come back to TLC, but what I won't do is come back and do what I did the last time, because I also have a sponsor that didn't even want to even return my phone calls. I'm like, really? So we was not going to do that again. And I wanted to be smart. I wanted to be led. I wanted, okay, Father, where am I supposed to be? So when I went to her page and I saw where she was serious about her business, that she was consistent about her business, and she was a transformation contest winner. So I checked out her story. I was like, okay, wow. Me being who I am, I said, I'm not going to let her know that I used to be in TLC. I'm going to be a customer. And I have to credit her for, she was 1052 before it was officially 1052 in the company. Because what she did, she sampled me first. She sent me some samples. Then after that, because I already knew what it took as far as the products were concerned, I knew that I needed my original brewed ISOT. I knew I needed my NutriBurst. I knew I needed the NRG. And see, it was never a doubt in my mind whether or not the products would work. And the products they're not on trial. It's not an issue of whether or not the products will work. It's whether or not you're going to allow them to work for you. And it takes a level of commitment and consistency. So from October, all of October, to all of November of 2019, I went to work. Because, see, I had gained approximately about 40 pounds of the weight that I had originally lost. Well, I went on ahead and got rid of that weight. So when I came back, and I don't even like to say I came back to TLC, because once again, I understood that this was purpose. I didn't come back to TLC. I came back home. And what Fern does not know, and I have not shared with her this part of my journey. The very same day that I made that post, I was in tremendous pain. I had both sides of my face firing up. And when you're dealing with multiple sclerosis and also trigeminal neuralgia, you're also going to deal with bouts of depression. And on that day, before I made that post, y'all, I got tired. You get tired of fighting that level of pain. The type of pain where sometimes you really question whether or not you want to continue living. But I'm so glad that I made that post, because what she doesn't realize is that I was in so much pain and all that was going on. But when I saw her say, I will be praying for you, it was like the spirit left from me with that pain right then and there on the spot. I nicknamed her BSE, which stands for Best Sponsor Ever.
Bobby, so Fern is one of the three important person in this story. Who is the other two?
Well, the next person actually helped prepare the way for me to even speak the way that I'm speaking right now concerning my particular issues, especially bringing up the subject of depression. And this is why it's so important to be a part of and attend live events. Live events is vital to our business because you never know who's watching. Because something occurred last January before this thing hit. Last January in New Orleans, there was a young lady there that told her story of basically how she had set her own death date, her own date as to which she was going to commit suicide. And something about when she made up her mind, okay, I'm going to start taking these products, and more specifically the NRG, which in NRG, it has a ingredient in it called HTP5, which has helped me tremendously. When Trinice was bold enough to stand up on the stage and share that part of her life with the world, it made it okay for me to stand up here today and share my story. So being a part of a fantastic organization, which Ambassador Philip Birchfield, Team Shaw, but I'm also part of another team within Team Shaw, which is Fit and Free TLC. Which is led by Scott T. Bent. Up until that point, going towards the middle of the year, of last year, I was well on my way as far as dropping the weight, and I had a particular goal that I wanted to hit by July 15th of 2020. I was turning 50 years old on July 15th, and I wanted to hit a personal goal of actually dropping an additional 50 pounds. So I would make my post and actually put the hashtag 50 by 50. And so what wound up happening is that Global Director Scott Bent and also to Global Director Felice Nichols actually came up with a challenge in July of last year. And the prize was volume. I said, okay, I'll sign up for that class. And so I was on, at the end of June, I was about 25 pounds away from my goal of hitting that additional 50. And so when that challenge came along, it came along at the right time. Now, during the month of July, I got a phone call one day while I was walking out on the track. Because by this time, I'm walking 4 miles a day. Because I had became determined that I was going to win this issue concerning the weight, because the weight wasn't the issue, it was the issue behind the issue that caused the weight. And when I started getting answers internally about what the real problem was, I had to get help. And when I say help, I'm not talking about just only self-help. Y'all, I had to get some counseling. Yeah. I had to get down to the real root of the problem. And it's amazing. Once I got down to the real root of the problem, the issues that would cause me to overeat, I couldn't even go there no more, because it don't happen now. So it let me know that there's some healing had taken place. And I got so tired of being the go-to guy. I was there for a whole lot of people that wasn't there for me. I wound up mentoring a whole lot of folk that they didn't mean me no good. And I know that we are in a room full of mentors. So I want to give you this. Please understand the difference in between a mentee and a parasite. Because a parasite only wants what's in your hand, but a mentee wants what's in your heart. And so, to continue with the theme and purpose and being where you're supposed to be, you're able to touch lives at the drop of a dime. Because one day, while I'm walking out on the track, I get a phone call. And on the other end, it was Global Director D'Angelo Malcolm. And he said, Bobby, I don't know if you realize this or not, but what you've done, only a small percentage of people on this earth has ever accomplished that. And he said, on top of what you deal with health-wise and just your story overall, your prosperity, your provision, and your success lies in your story. He said, tell your story. He said, be consistent in what you're doing. Keep doing that, but tell your story. Because me being the go-to guy, being the rescue guy, I come to find out that I was always operating on empty. I was always giving out of a cup that was halfway full because I had never embraced a life of abundance. But when you come to TLC, not only do you deal with your body, but you're going to have to deal with your mind and your spirit. But that's only if you're interested in becoming whole. And so in the process, I have this saying that you can't be anything to anyone until you're everything to yourself. And when I embrace having a life of abundance, it doesn't mean that I don't give. I just give now out of the saucer because the cup has overflowed. So, what you see before you is a direct result of the work that had taken place on the inside, now manifesting itself on the outside.
Amen. Amen.
Woo! Yes! Look at that, Bobby. Look at what you just created. You're good. But we also got some presents for you. Are you excited?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is everything they had in the store.
Well, I think that Mr. Fallon had to go, right?
Mhm.
But Johnny, explain what this is all about.
Well, this is Mr. Fallon's way of saying thank you. He loves giving, like you said, and you talked about giving there at the end of your story. And by the way, you did a great job. We didn't even have any questions left because you covered it all.
Yep.
A very touching story, by the way, Bobby. So obviously we have some gifts and some prizes for you, some flowers as well, and I think we have some coaching. We've got some money, so you can go ahead and buy dinner tonight as well from Mr. Fallon. Always generous. And what else does Bobby have in there? Because earlier there was a spa thing in there, and I gave away a spa thing. Like I didn't know
Well, then
that.
I don't know. Open it. Let me see if there's anything special in there.
But you know,
there's also.
there we go.
Yep.
So you get your 2-month function nutritional program. There's some cash in there. Okay, you don't have to show everybody that. There's cash in there. Woo! So you can buy dinner with that.
Oh, yeah. Won't he do it?
Yeah. Or you can, well, in true Bobby Patterson format, you can buy someone dinner with that, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we're really proud of you for your story, of course, and for everything you've achieved. But we're really proud for you to stand up here today and share what you shared, because I think it resonated with a lot of people when you said, when you expose what you have been experiencing your whole life, and kind of never telling that story. And I just feel like this is a new chapter in your life, and I feel like you needed to be here today.
Yes, right.
So I want to close out asking all of you for help. If you were, I know Bobby kind of mentioned the three people that were important to him, which was Fern Morgan, which also is a transformation contest winner, and put that comment that day. Right? And she suffers from
Trigeminal neuralgia,
which you didn't know.
and I did not know
Okay.
at the time.
So, and then we've got Trinice, who told her story, was brave enough to talk about her wanting to commit suicide, which inspired you to maybe think about possibly one day going on this journey and telling your story. And then D'Angelo Malcolm, who inspired you and really pretty much forced you to tell your story, right? He's like, you have to tell this story. Another transformation contest winner. So we talked about God and coincidence during your story, how we just all believe that was God for sure. So what I wanted to ask all of you for at this moment, if you could do me the personal favor, and all of us, and really Bobby, and everybody else out there, because we heard about this morning from Annie. Trinice was another, person that thought about leaving this earth. Bobby had that emotion as well at one point, and too many people we've lost in that way on this planet. So I'm going to ask you guys to stand up, and with every ounce of passion and enthusiasm in your body and in your lungs and in your voices, please remind everybody who's even contemplating leaving us too early, who's even contemplating taking their own life, that someone on this planet loves them. We want them here, and there's no way we're going to let them go, because for whatever reason, sometimes they don't hear us, but we're here for them. So let's make sure they know right now at this moment. Virtual audience, help us, please. We love you, period. You will not leave this earth one day before you're supposed to, not like that. There's a lot of people today. I have some banners on the virtual there.
Picture time.
Picture, please.
We're ready, Kyrie, for you.
Thank you, Kyrie. Guys, give it up one more time for the courageous Mr. Bobby Patterson. Thanks, Bobby. Woo!